We fight for that itch.
Rarely do I see any American Italians eating in here.
But I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
Villkoret är att jag får leva.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Hey there, welcome to Real Genius. I'm Chris Vognar, culture critic for the Dallas Morning News.
And I'm Robert Wilonsky, and I work here also.
Yes, absolutely.
As far as I know.
You're a valuable asset.
As far as we know.
To the Dallas Morning News.
As far as we're aware.
So it seems appropriate that we have that little clip from Do the Right Thing with Bugging Out asking to get some brothers on the wall.
That's right.
Because the Academy is having a similar problem. That's what
they can't get any brothers on the wall.
Yeah, they can't.
Or on the stage, or on the nominations list, or anywhere
sisters.
else. Yes.
So we are talking about the ongoing Oscar controversy, which seems to be coming to a head this year after many years of the same problem being repeated.
I'm protesting.
Over and over.
I will not be there.
Robert will not be at the Oscars, but you will be the Oscar. I can see you kind of like looking very Oscar-like.
Just because I go to bed at night dressed in the nude while wearing a gold sheet over me.
Pretend I didn't.
It's none of your damn business.
Pretend I didn't say that. So, a brief timeline. The Oscar nominations come out earlier this month. Once again, there are no actors of color, very few nominees in any category of color. There is much hand-wringing and cursing. Then there is a call for a boycott by, among others, Spike Lee and Jada Pinkett Smith. The Academy promises changes. Then the Academy actually presents and provides some future changes. They are going to make their membership younger and more diverse and more female. And now we're getting the backlash to that with all of these, a lot of, let's just say, older white male members of the Academy, most of whom I've never heard of, the people who are complaining, saying, how dare you say we can no longer be in the Academy. This is like the most Academy Awards action in January since, I can't remember when.
I hope somebody's making a documentary about this.
That would be awesome.
I assume they are.
Or a mini-series.
What if a documentary about this wasn't nominated for an Oscar, but it was really good?
That would be very controversial.
It would be. It seems like it would be fitting. So I'm curious where you come down on this, because you've been talking a lot about this. You just got off the podcast that we have here doing a segment about this. You did a piece defending Charlotte Rampling for her woefully outdated points of view on this particular subject.
I argued that I'm a lot more interested in her as an actress than I am in stupid utterings that she says to
that all white people say
to the French media. I think what she said was really stupid. I don't think it makes her a racist.
It's a fine line.
But I've also written, and I continue to say, that the Academy needs to be more diverse, and it needs to be more relevant, and it needs to reflect the people who are actually going to see movies, which are largely not old white guys.
See, this goes back to what we were talking about a few weeks ago when the nominations came out. I find the Oscar nominations, the Oscars themselves, to be so irrelevant that this argument, while it's a good one, a valid one, and an important one, just only highlights further the fact that these are wildly irrelevant. They are, hell, the Golden Globes are probably more interesting and relevant.
They're more fun, but they're not more relevant.
None of them are relevant. The idea of awarding somebody, the idea of picking one performance, one film, how many great films have lost?
I agree that it's an arbitrary exercise, but the fact is, culturally, somehow, as a people, we have come to care about the Oscars more than the Grammys or the Emmys.
Some people have come to care about
or the Tonys. I'm not saying everybody cares about them, but as awards shows go, and I am not a fan of awards shows.
Because they star our most famous people.
It is Hollywood's big self-congratulation fest, and somehow we've convinced ourselves that we have a stake in this. But let's get back to the topic at hand.
Well, it's all related.
Where does the problem start? I think that's a really good question. I say it starts with the people who greenlight movies, who are the gatekeepers, so to speak. I don't think the problem is necessarily diversity in the Academy Award nominations. I think the problem is in diversity in the movies that we actually go to see that could potentially be nominated for Oscars. And that is a rather deep-seated problem.
So let me ask you this, though. Let's get back to the Oscars as opposed to the larger problem of the Academy in general. And look, I don't disagree certainly the conversation that's taken place over the last couple of weeks is not, the problem's not the Academy, the problem is Hollywood. The problem is the industry. It is sexist, it is racist, it is all the ists that one can put into a list.
And yet it has its own brand of liberal pieties that runs throughout.
Self-righteousness.
There's a lot of self-righteousness, some of which is fairly well done and a lot of which is not.
Give me an example of each.
Oh man, you're gonna put me on the spot here, aren't you?
Sorry, I don't mean to. It's kind of a dick
when
move.
it came out, I'll still defend Dances with Wolves. I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's better than Goodfellas, which it beat that year, but I think it's a pretty good Western, and I think that's an example of Hollywood sort of congratulating itself for, a revisionist take on the Western that recognizes Native Americans. The movies that don't do it as well, man, that's a long list. How about the Best Picture winner, Driving Miss Daisy?
Right. Look, it's every movie in which a white guy's nominated for an Oscar, or the white guy's the subject of a movie about a black guy. It's like every white movie is about apartheid in the 80s and 90s was always about the white guy. With the black
and
guy.
I've written volumes about that. I mean, there's some Mississippi Burning,
Biko,
Ghosts of Mississippi.
Right. So let's talk about this for a second. What would you have, when you look at the list of film, when you look at the films that were out, is it because the films weren't necessarily, Straight Outta Compton is okay.
It's a good movie.
It's not great.
It's good.
It's good. It's not. I didn't watch it and go, man, Oscar.
It's better than other things that have been nominated for Best Picture
this year
in the past. I think so.
What would you have seen off the list that you would have said, oh, Straight Outta Compton for sure is better than...
It's a minority opinion, but I don't think The Martian is a great movie.
It's a fluffy, light, good movie. I don't think it's a great movie. It's not a movie that people will remember 10 years from now and go, man, that was a classic.
But I think it's a really good question, and I think Michael B. Jordan was fantastic in Creed.
There's no doubt about that.
Ryan Coogler
totally robbed. Those two guys were robbed. That's absolutely, those two more than Straight Outta Compton by a mile.
I thought Idris Elba was remarkable in Beasts of No Nation, but
easily.
That was Netflix, as you pointed out, in the past. And
they're punishing that. It's not a punishment against Idris Elba's performance. It's a punishment because of Netflix's release platform, and they don't like that.
They're rather shook by Netflix. But I think this gets back to one of the things we were talking about a minute ago. It's not so much these particular nominations, it's the pool itself. There's not enough being made to choose from. So I think we end up being in a position where we have to lean on a Creed or a Straight Outta Compton, which are good movies. Actually, I'd say Creed is closer to a great movie.
It's a near great movie with great performances and great direction.
And it's quite Oscar-y. They didn't run a great campaign.
But the fact that but see, look, the thing about Creed, and I think this is what underscores this entire argument. The moment Stallone got nominated and nobody else did, that right there said, oh, look how old and racist these people are. And they weren't wrong.
Yeah. And it was not marketed towards the Oscars. It did not have a good campaign. I think its distributors were caught off guard by quite how good and popular it was.
Right.
It's what is it? It's Rocky 7, right? But it's not. Is
it Rocky 7 or Rocky
8? I lost track.
It's Rocky 34.
So it wasn't seen as Oscar-y until people actually started seeing it.
Right.
And they're like, oh wow, this is great.
They didn't send out Oscar screeners for it.
Right.
Which they did for every piece of crap that came out this year. I mean, every junkie movie got an Oscar screener, except that. And that, to me, immediately said, they don't take this seriously.
Yeah. So, there are a lot of problems in play here, but the one I keep coming back to, and as I've said twice now, is just what movies get greenlit, what movies are given access to the theaters, and where do we go from there. So I think changing the body of the Academy, the makeup of the Academy, I think it's a good step, actually.
Changing the studio heads would be a better one.
But it's a bit of a cosmetic step at the same time.
No, it's absolutely right. The problem is the people who make the movies, who allow them to be, who finance them, who direct them, who greenlight them, who write them, for God's sakes. I mean, it's the industry itself is up its own tuchus for so many years. And I think the self-congratulatory part is the thing that I keep coming back to over and over and over again. But we make really good films about racism. We're not racist.
Or progressive.
Some of my best director friends are black. It feels a bit like that. Look, all I can say is if there was ever a year I wanted to watch Chris Rock host the Oscars, it's this year.
It's exactly where I was about to go for us to close. He's going to have a field day.
I can't wait.
And I just feel like he's going to rise to this occasion.
He's rewritten his entire monologue, so we've been told. It's I'm very excited about it. I'm just hoping I gotta tell you, this whole thing has really changed my Oscar watching, however, because whenever a white person wins an award, drinking game could be paralyzing pretty quickly.
Which you'll love.
I know, I'm really not looking forward to it though.
Here's our look at Oscar Controversy 2016. Next week, Hail Caesar.
I can't wait.
New Coen brothers. Good stuff.
Talking about white people.
Yes, very white. So are we should point out.
Look, I'm the last guy to be talking about this is Robert so white, beard so white, body so white.
Yeah, we might
so
we
white.
might as well say we're part of the media. This is media so white.
Well, I'm the Jewish media. I'm the worst. I'm going out to the parking lot afterward and set myself on fire.
Look forward to that, and we'll see you next week.